I think a common response to that line of reasoning is that, well, ecosystems are highly chaotic systems. It would be very difficult to identify specific interventions that would guarantee that the whole ecosystem doesn't collapse, while at the same time guaranteeing that there is no disemboweling or like other horrific manners of death or suffering. Do you have any thought on that? Is really engineering ecosystems to have a evolutionarily stable, steady state of non-suffering possible?
Yes, in a nutshell. For a start, it's not a question of shall we intervene in nature or not. Humans are already intervening in nature on a truly massive scale, ranging from uncontrolled habitat destruction to captive breeding programs for big cats, rewilding and the like. So once again, it's a false dilemma. Is the problem computationally intractable? Well, it's certainly complicated, but nonetheless, there are only at most half a dozen levels in any trophic web of the food chain. One will not, and I said one will not, if we accept that we do have a responsibility for a compassionate nature as well as a conservation biology, that if we do accept this ethical obligation to minimise involuntary suffering, one would start off doing pilot projects in particular wildlife parks. And already today, in spite of the common injunction not to, inverted commas, interfere in nature, something like immunocontraception is used in the Kruger National Park in preference to the brutal practice of culling elephant populations. And likewise, starting at, and I'm scare quoting the terms, at the top of the phylogenetic tree of the large free-living vertebrates that probably are capable of sustaining the worst forms of suffering, we could, in principle at least, introduce the principles of the welfare state for the, first of all, with the higher vertebrates, and then working our way down the phylogenetic tree. Something like, for instance, a welfare state for elephants, African elephants, might cost between $2 and $3 million a year to implement, if we regard it as ethically desirable to take care of the old, the sick, the young, and the vulnerable.
And eventually going all the way down to, say, mice?
Yes, I said, though one can envisage something like this for large, free-living, long-lived vertebrates now, it would be possible to go right the way down what is cruelly called the food chain. Clearly, if we're talking about mice, let alone small invertebrates, this is not going to be a priority right now. In fact, in the case of small invertebrates, it wouldn't yet be feasible. But with the exponential growth of computer power, surveillance and control technology later this century, with power comes complicity. There's essentially going to be no cubic meter, no cubic millimeter even, of the planet that isn't computationally accessible for surveillance and control.